the best financial professionals, they don't compete with other advisors. They're competing with themselves. How can we get better for our clients? And like, I love to win. It's just how I define my wins is not beating someone else. It's a win is that I took someone from start to finish and it changed their business or changed their mindset or changed whatever. Like, that's a win. And I love those wins.
I know you travel a ton, like you're a road warrior. But just rewinding a little bit, help me personally, if you don't mind, understand like how you got into this business.
Well, for anyone that might be watching this who doesn't know who I am, my name's Jackie Wilke. I work at First Trust. I've been in the financial services industry for 13 years, been in the practice management business development space for 9 years now, which is kind of crazy. Time flies. And so my primary role is helping financial professionals, firms, teams with business development and practice management. So it looks like tons of travel. We're in the field at conferences. Then I do one-on-one coaching with select individuals, teams, firms, and then try to produce as much content as possible because, as you know, content is king and it's the best way to help people and establish credibility and authority. So that's been my journey. That's where I spend most of my time, based in Chicago. But I got into this industry, actually, interestingly enough, both my parents work in financial services, which is kind of unusual. My mom still does some consulting, but she worked at Nuveen for many years and did a lot in the practice management arena. So I've known about what this space is forever. And it's been really cool, like how much has stayed the same from when I watched her do it growing up and how much is totally different for financial professionals. And just how important it is for advisors to work on their business as they work in this business, as we know, because I have to work on my business as I work in this business. Otherwise you get static, you plateau, or you just don't keep up with people truly value. But I love it. I love having these conversations. I love getting to meet other professionals like yourselves on platforms like LinkedIn, always hearing either stories that totally align with the conversations I'm having or getting a different spin on it. And I was thinking about it earlier today when I was thinking about getting ready for this call, like that term best practices. I think the most important thing that I'm seeing for people right now is that best practices means you actually have to practice it. And it's not just something that happens overnight. So actually, like, putting in the processes, putting in the time, getting creative to try new things and see what sticks. And when they do stick, actually continue to do it, because some of the stuff is a long game. I feel like I'm rambling, but
No, it's cool. Like, all right, so you've been in the industry for over a decade, right? Like when you got into the business, were you just like, did you go to school and then graduate and then think like, I want to be in finance? Was that where your head was at?
no, I had no idea what I wanted to do. I worked at Nordstrom during college because it was a commission job and I got to work with clothes, which was awesome. Got a
Is it really
discount.
commission? I didn't know that.
Yeah,
Interesting.
yeah, yeah.
Wow.
So it was a great summer job. You learn a lot about people, sales, behavior when you work in retail. It's an interesting environment. And I had no idea what I wanted to do when I graduated. I went to Butler, studied Spanish and business, and the job market wasn't great when I graduated. So I had the opportunity to interview at First Trust through a couple different channels, and got a job on the inside sales desk. I was an inside wholesaler for about 4 years and then got recruited to the team that I'm on now, the advisor consulting group, by Chris Jepson, the head of our team. And the rest is history.
I find, Jackie, some of the best marketers and value add and key account people in the industry come from spending time either externally selling or internally on the desk because they're so close to the conversation and the pain points. So that's no surprise for me to hear that.
Yeah, it was great. I loved sales, and being in this role, I get to be very much involved with a lot of strategy with our sales process, but just supporting professionals and our firm in a different way.
So have you been in the role you're currently in then? You spent some time on the internal desk. Have you been in the role you're in since then? Has that kind of just continued to evolve?
Yeah, it's been about 9 years. When I first joined, we had very established people on our team. So my goal was to try to figure out, okay, what's going to be next? And that's when I started to really chip away at these three groups, like women investors, next gen, clients, families. And a lot of the work that I produce, the content, it all comes from actual conversations, just like you see with advisors. It's not what we think is going to work, it's what actually works. So it's been a lot of years of study and success, building the content. And when you work with financial professionals, you've always got fresh perspective and fresh content. So just making sure that everything is exactly what professionals need, not just today, but also as they look to the future.
As you like, let's get real for a minute. Like, as you sit in your current role now, and you're talking to advisors and you're out there and hearing, you know, their challenges, and do you and your team, and when you're kind of digesting, how how much, let me try to phrase this properly, like how how much value, in terms of a 0 to 100%, do you feel like are you delivering on, versus how much you really just you want to be able to get to, but your team and just the nuances or the capacity capabilities of the firm can't keep up? Like, how close are you guys on to giving full throttle everything you'd want versus what you in a perfect world could do?
Yeah. So there's a lot of areas of marketing, business development, practice management that we're not in. Like, we're not in the fintech side of things. We are really equipped to create content individually for certain teams, for certain individuals, for certain firms. So we are really helpful with perspective and delivering simple solutions. So like language, scripts, repeatable processes. And we try to focus on the processes that we think are going to be most widely used. Nothing's ever going to be a fit for everyone. But that's where it's great to meet other professionals in the industry and other programs and solutions and platforms, so that if we can't do it, we always try to point someone in some sort of direction rather than just being like, oh, nope, best of luck to you.
Yeah, all right. So it's what can we do to help as many as we possibly can, but obviously you can't get into the one-on-one bespoke needs of everyone.
Yeah, that's not our wheelhouse. But it's great that there are so many individuals like yourself who can be there step by step. Like I've seen on LinkedIn, like you'll go to the photo shoot, you'll go to the video recording. Like, we'll try to do that as much as possible. But there's 6 of us on our team now. We cover the whole US, Canada, Mexico for the firm. So we can't be everywhere at once. But hey, thanks to digital, I feel like we can get kind of close.
Yeah, for sure. How's the message being received? Like, what's the tone right now of the market? I know that, I'm sure, coming out of COVID and you being kind of back on the road even 18 months ago, 36 or 24 months ago, probably felt like people were thirsty. Like, are people at the point of exhaustion, fatigue, like, I get it already, or are they still really chomping at the bit based on the message?
I find that it's not so much the situation, it more depends on the individual or the team. Like, the people who are always focused on their business, they're always hungry for more ideas. Like, even the teams that we work with that are 5 billion, 10 billion, like they are growing like crazy. They always want to know what someone else is doing to be successful. And some people just aren't programmed that way, and that's okay. They may be more of a lifestyle practice, or they're thinking about their succession plan. So it's more that I'm seeing that people who are always in growth mode or are in growth mode, they're the ones who are always hungry. But doesn't mean that's necessarily going to be everyone. And I would turn that back on you. I mean, I think that practice management, marketing ideas, navigating this new normal and what's coming next, I see a ton of demand for it still. I don't know if you're seeing that, or if people are kind of like, we got to focus on something else right now. So I would turn that question back to you.
I love this conversation because I like what you said a second ago, and I juggle with it all the time. And it's me, and this is not me casting judgment on on financial advisors at all. This is about the barbell that I see. I see financial advisors that want to grow, but they just, for whatever reason, can't, and they're at one end of the spectrum, and they just can't get their AUM or whatever they need to be to get there, to free up the time or the capacity or whatever it may be to get them to the next level. And then I see advisors in the middle who are doing their best to get to the other side, which is the other side was what you mentioned, which is those in growth mode. And they're like, yeah, my business is great. Like I could sit back and just chill, but I won't. And what we're doing is deploying more energy, more time, more capital, more thinking. And they just keep pouring. I don't like using this term, but they keep pouring more gasoline on this fire that just keeps growing the fire bigger, and they get farther and farther ahead. And that's what I'm seeing right now. It's those that continue to commit to what got them there are getting farther ahead, and they're leaving the pack behind. And um, for me, it's I see them having tremendous demand on however they can get in front of more people. It's those in the middle and then at the other end of the barbell that I see saying, doesn't work, waste of money, waste of time, or maybe just lifestyle. I make 180 grand. I'm cool. Like life is
Yeah.
good.
Yeah. It's about mindset first, right? It's usually always about mindset first. The people who are usually the ones that are wanting to grow, they'll always feel that way, even if, and I'm sure you're seeing this, as you mentioned, like these teams that keep pouring gasoline on the fire and they have to hire new people, roles and responsibilities shift. So maybe what they needed help with 2 years ago, 3 years ago, 5 years ago is just different what they need help with now. Now they're like, okay, I'm in CEO mode. What does that have to look like? Or the value of the financial professional has shifted dramatically. How do we make sure we can reach a younger audience or truly position ourselves as all things to some people? So I think their mindset's always in that growth mode, but sometimes it's the lens that they're looking through, or their obstacles or their opportunities that continue to evolve, that always keep them in the position of wanting to learn more, right?
Agreed.
I personally don't see any reason to reinvent a wheel. So I also like to know what someone else is doing.
So on that note, and that's a perfect segue or for this question, like we talked, during the pandemic, 2020, 2021, even like everyone, it was easy, right? It was like, you're at home, whatever, like LinkedIn still hadn't hit that stride yet. Advisors were allowed to be there. So it was like this perfect storm of like, if I'm just present, I'm going to get attention. Now, from a marketing lens, and you're looking at it, we're halfway through 2023 almost, right? Or a quarter of the way through. People have to be better. Like your stuff has to, the things you're doing has to be more creative. The places you're showing up has to be more frequent. The message you have has to be more poignant. Like it's, in my opinion, and I'm curious about yours, like it's not about just showing up anymore. It's about actually putting in the work to show up well.
You know, I always struggle with the message of people have to do something,
Good. I like that. Okay.
because I see individuals and teams that they have zero digital presence and they're growing like crazy because their clients love them and they're highly specialized. So referrals come. But with that being said, that does veer to your point of getting more articulate and clear in your value proposition. And then, like, I personally love LinkedIn. I sometimes will talk to financial professionals and they'll ask me tell me why I don't need to be on LinkedIn. And I can't tell them that they have to be on LinkedIn, because it depends on your ideal client, what's authentic for you. And then you choose the channel, right? It's the who and the why first. Then we figure out, how do we reach them? Where are they? What do we need to be talking about that they're going to care about? So I agree, for those that are wanting to attract a certain kind of client, digital platforms are a great way to reach them. And I'm kind of going back and forth on this, right? The other thing is too, is I don't do anything, and maybe this is a generational thing, but I don't do anything really or go anywhere before I Google it. I usually don't even leave my house before looking at the weather.
It's
So
it's that, I don't know if that's us or what, but yeah, I want to know what I'm getting
yeah.
into.
And I think about it like, I'm big foodie, love trying new restaurants. I think about it like, where did the recommendation come from first? Like if someone's like, you need to go try this hole in the wall restaurant, don't look at the photos, do not Google it, like don't worry about the reviews, and it's someone who I trust, I'm still going to go try that restaurant. Will I Google it still? Yes, but what I find doesn't matter as much. Versus if I start with Google, like best new restaurants in Chicago, I'm going to care about who wrote the article, what the reviews are, figuring out if anyone I know has been there. I'm going to look at the photos. So I think the genesis of the referral or the recommendation matters more with how much a digital presence matters. But I was at a conference last week and I was talking to an advisor and we were talking about LinkedIn, and it doesn't hurt. If someone does Google you, that's the first thing that pops up. So to have something that does establish your credibility, your authority, it's a good investment, because that puts another tick in the box of the trust corner that your digital presence can lend to.
Yeah. I really like how you led this off. Like, I don't like telling people they have to. I really believe in that too. And I hope that I'm gonna have to rewind the tape on this and listen to myself speak, because I actually believe that. So I hope I don't give away the impression that people have to do things. I think,
I'm going to tell everyone Corey says.
well, it's hard. It's, the conversations I have with new prospects is like, they want to do all this stuff. And the first question I ask them is like, what do you want to happen? And typically it's, I want to grow. And then it's like, all right, well, where's your audience? Or who's your demographic? And then we walk through that and we go through that whole process. And 7 times out of 10, it's like, well, you need to be active in the places that those people are scrolling and visiting. There are the instances like you mentioned where advisors are like, I'm successful as shit. Like, I can't be more successful based on literally just referrals. Like, I don't do anything and it just comes in. Well, great. Then, why are we talking? For me, right? Like, that's awesome. Like, I can't demonize that. That's the best thing in the world to have word of mouth business like that. So I like you saying, pointing out and calling me out, or at least establishing that, is like, you don't like saying have to, because that's real.
Well, and I think kind of to the first thing we were talking about, even the people who are so successful doing what they're doing, one, sometimes they want to kick the tires on something, like get your perspective on what others are doing, because they want to solidify that, okay, this is what we want to keep doing, because consistency is key. There's so many times, like I was talking to a team the other week and they told me about this event that they did pre-COVID. It was summer event. Clients still talk about it. They got new business out of it. Like, it was so successful that they stopped doing it.
Yeah.
And it's, I mean, we're human, there's human nature in there, but I think when something does work, just because there's another shiny object that people are like, this works for me, it's really important to continue to do what's working for you, but still audit and evaluate if what got us here is going to continue to get us to where we want to go.
Another huge point, like the shiny object thing's real. Like, I'm dealing with so many advisors right now that Instagram was just turned on for them. And I'm like, guys, like, do you know Instagram? Like, no, I've never even been on the platform. Like, it's a lot of work. Like, you don't just show up on Instagram and like you really got to put some work into it. And the shiny new object is a lot of times a distraction more than it is anything. And that's a real thing for folks to think about as well.
Yeah. And everything works if you work it. If you put in, well, I should say almost everything. If you put out an ad in the yellow pages, I don't think that's going to work anymore.
You remember
But
those things used to get delivered?
I'm sure there's still some getting delivered in some town somewhere. But yeah, I think that consistency is often the thing that people miss, because I saw this, I haven't verified it, but I saw someone posted that our average attention span now is like 45 seconds. So we're all dealing with shiny object syndrome no matter what. I want to try this new thing. I want to try that new thing. I need to be doing this. I need to be doing that. And like, because we have more access to people, which is awesome, I think that comparison creeps in a lot faster and a lot easier, where what we're doing is just stay focused. This is working. Let's keep doing it.
All right. Let's get into some nitty gritty with you for a minute, or for a few minutes, if you will.
Sounds ominous.
It's not. What's the biggest mistake, Jackie, if I had to ask you one thing that advisors in the industry are making at the moment? It doesn't have to be marketing related, it can be anything. But you've talked to a lot of people.
The biggest mistake advisors are making right now in the industry.
Change the word mistake. What's the one thing you wish advisors would do more of or rectify?
Okay. I like that more. I wish more advisors would lean on their partners, like not just their business partners, but their strategic partners, the resources that they have at the firm, other companies that they can plug and play. I think sometimes it feels overwhelming to them, some of the changes that they need to make. But if they embrace certain partnerships, technology, resources that exist, and just took a little bit of time to learn it, adopt it, integrate it, they would get to where they want to go a lot faster. But I get it. It can be very overwhelming about where to start, who the right partner is. So I think one of the things that's holding a lot of people back is not taking the time now to invest in building either the human capital, the tech stack, make sure they're with the right people, the right firm, that they really need to do today to accelerate their opportunities in the future.
What's the deal with that? Is that a trust thing?
I think trust sometimes, like, I think one of the things that I sometimes have to help teams navigate, like if a younger advisor comes into the business, is it's hard. If you've been the main point person with clients, you've gone through time with them, you've built this relationship over 30 years, and then someone else comes in and like it's hard to change. It's hard to sometimes trust that you can hand something off to someone or someone else can do something the way that you like it to be done, or even better maybe.
So you're talking on
um,
the team level. Like I'm 62. I've been an advisor for 35 years. You join my team, and it's hard for me to relinquish some of the responsibilities to you.
or be open to new ideas, and that's just one example, the team level. But it could even be you have a hard time trusting that adding a new technology into your stack is going to be exactly what you need, or trusting a marketing consultant to come in and actually get deep on what your value proposition is, embrace the new messaging and move forward with it.
So the firm's back office solutions, they're just not willing to engage with that are the resources there for them at the moment.
I think change is hard for a lot of people. And so it's a case by case scenario. And what I think advisors are not necessarily open to embracing certain things that will help them change, or people to help them change. Um, but if they would see a lot of the outcomes that they want to see.
I like that.
What about you?
Can
That's a
what do
tough
I
question. Yeah.
what do I
What do you
wish?
wish you would see?
I wish advisors would be more patient and have more conviction, which would allow them more consistency. I think there's too much test, try, and move on to the next thing behavior, and what that does is cost everyone time and money and doesn't move the needle. I think everything great takes a lot of time.
Mhm.
I really do. Like I meet with new clients and I'm like, guys, like it could take a year for this to work, but you have to just keep showing up in front of the people that you want to do business with, and eventually you will be that top of mind advisor to them.
Yeah. And it does take time. Like I started getting more active on LinkedIn in 2018, I think. And it takes so long to consistently put out content, to consistently show up on the channels. I mean, I know you've seen this as your business has grown, as the impact you've been able to have on that channel has grown. I love that answer. Staying patient and consistent.
It's hard, and I'm also very empathetic to it. Like I get it. Advisors are dealing with emotional conversations. They're dealing with heavy things. They're dealing with having to find new business. They're dealing with, sorting out through the different companies and firms and insurance and fund companies of who to work with. There's a million things on their plate. And then to think on top of that, they have to become content creators or marketers consistently, and they don't see results. I'm totally empathetic to it, but that's my answer.
That's where it'd be great if they would embrace these other solutions and people that could come in and help them figure out where they can put those
That's why I
pieces
ask you if it's a
together.
trust thing. It's like I've been burned before, or I've wasted money on stuff like this before, and it just doesn't return, the ROI on it's not there.
Well, it goes back to everyone, I think. Like, imagine a client, an investor. One time they met with a financial professional and they thought they were sitting down for consultation, but it was actually a timeshare pitch. Like, that investor feels like all financial professionals are maybe the same. So now they maybe distrust the system. So, similar to how advisors would relate with other people, product partners, technology solutions, their firms, I think that when we kind of lump people together, we had a negative experience. That's why experience is so important. Um, you're kind of once bitten, twice shy.
You nailed it. Yeah, I agree with you. Timeshare. That's great. Jackie,
I know it has happened. It probably still happens.
what's the one thing? I'm going to take the word mistake out of this again, so this will make it a little easier. What's the one thing you wish firms and management, like companies that you work at and others, would be able to do more of?
Ooh.
So I say, what's the mistake they're making? And I don't mean First Trust. When I phrased the question, I wanted to know, like, what's the industry from your perspective, from your seat, missing?
I don't know that I have an answer for that. If I can turn it a little bit, I think one of the things that we're really proud of at First Trust that we do really well is we're very people centric. So when we build resources, investment solutions, thought leadership, it's always very much with the financial professional in mind. Like, what do they need? What's going to help them solve their problems? What are their clients asking them? How can we help them answer it? Um, that's one thing that we've been very, very focused on is how do we pour back into the professional who's actually talking to the client? So I'm not saying our way is the right way or that another firm doing it differently is wrong, but that is one way that we've been able to build some pretty incredible relationships over time.
Good answer. Do you, so with that in mind, and I know you want to also be careful and understand that you're not going to bash anybody. Do you guys
No.
feel like you have competitors, or do you feel like you kind of do what you know and think is right and just keep moving forward? Or is there any rear view mirror activity going on?
I mean, I can't speak for the firm on that, but
You,
for me personally, I think hindsight is very helpful, but it's not the most important thing. I think it's important to evaluate, to audit, to reflect, because I think that gives us a lot of perspective that we can use going forward. But I adopted this quote a couple of years ago. It's not my quote. I saw it on Instagram. But someone said, like, I don't compete. If it's not meant for me, it's not meant for me. If it is meant for me, it will come to me. So I think when you are open, you're collaborative, you're a sponge, you don't think that you know it all, and you're always trying to put yourself in a room where you're not the smartest person. It's not about competing. It's just about how great can I get to be for my own version of whatever I want to be successful at.
yeah, I like that. And I just go back to my time on the corporate level, and I remember folks being so consumed with like stealing other people's slice of the pie. And I felt like there's just so many clients out there to be had. Like, let's just worry about growing our slice instead of taking from theirs. And I see it in a similar vein. Like, it's, you can learn from what others are doing and implement some of the things that you think they're doing really well. But to think of like having to directly compete neck and neck with them seems like a zero sum game.
And I think it depends on your definition of competition or who you're competing with. Like the best financial professionals, they don't compete with other advisors. They're competing with themselves. How can we get better for our clients? And like, I love to win. It's just how I define my wins is not beating someone else. It's a win is that I took someone from start to finish and it changed their business or changed their mindset or changed whatever. Like that's a win. And I love those wins.
Good. And that's perfect for this question. Like, what do you love most about your job? I mean, is it that answer, or can I get more out of you?
I mean, I love helping people. I also just think business is very interesting. Like, I like to study success. Like, what did someone do to be great at whatever it is that they do? I love those stories of like the journey that they went on, what they learned along the way. So I love hearing advisors' stories, the things that they did. And then if we can be a partner to help them to get to wherever they want to go next, someone else's story is probably going to help me help someone else get to where they want to go.
Are you able, because you're in an interesting role, like, are you able to fully turn off on Friday afternoon and then snap back in Monday morning? Or does, you're on a hike on Saturday and you're kind of, or you're doing whatever, right? In Chicago, like, and is work still in the back of your mind?
I don't know that work is in the back of my mind, but I definitely have found that like over consistently like years of doing content creation and whether it's a presentation for the blog that I write for LinkedIn, I find that I see inspiration in a lot of things and that doesn't turn off. So it's not that I'm thinking about like a work email that I need to send or necessarily the presentation that I have to give next week, but I do find that I see inspiration in a lot of things that I don't think that was a muscle that I had developed until the past few years.
Does that come with maturity, or does that come with caring? Like, what do you think? What do you think creates that? Because I agree with you, and I like the way you phrase it. It's not, you're not worried about the micro at work. You're worried about the macro and what you're observing and ways that you can apply that to being better.
I think it's more of just what you like to put your time into. Like, I think what we do is super interesting and I'm passionate about it. So it's not, that part of it's not a 9 to 5. So it wouldn't turn off outside of business hours. It's always running at some level. And I would say you're the same way. That's why it wouldn't turn off for you, because it's not work. It's what you really enjoy.
Yeah, I mean, thank you for speaking. I mean, putting that out there. I agree with you. I do turn off, but I don't. Right. It's when we're on a family walk and my mind wanders, it goes to places that I'll use in the future, because to your point, there's observations or little thoughts. What I mean, you've got some seniority. What about this industry still invigorates you?
I would say it's more on a personal level. I just have seen how people my age, my generation, when they've worked with financial advisors, it's dramatically changed their lives for the better. So one of the things that's really important to me is not only bringing younger people into this industry, because like I said, I worked at Nordstrom in college and here I am 13 years into financial services, but also helping the financial services industry understand my generation and how they can serve them, because it's kind of that Theodore Roosevelt quote, people don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. If financial professionals don't show up in a certain way, add value in a way that's relevant for younger generations, they might miss the opportunity to serve them in a way that truly can change someone's life.
I like that. Like, what do you see happening as this is kind of a crazy question. It wasn't even on my list, but just I'm thinking of it as you're talking. Like, as this thing continues to evolve, what is going to happen with when our generation, inherits whatever's left from mom and dad, and we don't have that relationship with that advisor? That seems like a big transformation of assets. Like, things are going to move, and I wonder if advisors are thinking that through, and I wonder what your perspective is on that.
I think it's first recognizing that the game has changed with social, with the internet, with whatever comes next, AI, whatever comes after that. People have more options, more access than ever before. So it's going to be about education, because people don't know what they don't know. If they think that getting advice off a social platform from someone who isn't a licensed professional is the same as working with a financial professional, what's going to be the easiest thing for them to access? It's the person probably on that social platform. So I think education is going to be really important. I think going more people focused as we continue to embrace technology, like the relationships, the things that technology can't replace, but it's going to be preference. Like, I think for financial professionals, it's going to be really important to have that ideal client that's a good fit for you as much as you're a good fit for them. Because the last thing you want is to bring on a younger investor who's used to day trading and they expect you to day trade for them. That's not what financial professionals do. They do so much more than that. So I think getting very clear about who's going to be a good fit for you and not just growing for the sake of growth. I don't know if I really answered that question.
No, I think you did. I mean, it's a tough one to answer because it's like trying to see into the future, but I'm with you on it. As I go a little bit deeper with you on the personal side, just to get to know you a little bit. If you had complete financial freedom personally, what do you think you'd be doing? And I'm talking like M's, like you don't have to work.
I think I would still work. I can't not work. But that's the thing, is I don't see it as work. I enjoy this. But I love to travel, go abroad, maybe live abroad for a little bit, go live in Spain. I don't know that much would change right now in my life. Maybe just live abroad for a little bit, travel. I don't know, but I already get not live abroad, but I get to travel a lot. It's an interesting question.
Would your I was asked this recently, and it's a hard one to answer. Someone asked me like, "What did you want to be when you grew up?" And I, just being a boy playing around the neighborhood, obviously professional sports was all, we thought about in the '80s or early '90s that none of us had a chance at, anyways. But there was no like real profession that I wanted, and um, they also then asked the follow-up question was, would your younger self be proud of you today and what you're doing? And I want to ask you that, like, whether or not you had an ideal job in mind when you were younger, would your younger self take a snapshot of what Jackie Wilke's doing today and be proud of her?
Geez, we're getting deep. Um, I what I wanted to be growing up was always changing as I learned about different things, like different professions, different careers, different paths that people took. So, I mean, at one point, I wanted to be a performer, like an actress, a singer, which I did a lot of theater growing up and choir. So I think that's definitely helped me in presenting, doing a ton of presenting today. I'm very comfortable talking to people. But I mean, younger self would definitely be proud of where I'm at.
Do you think just hearing you say that, like, is is you being able to scratch some of that itch of being up on stage? Does that does that satisfy some of the stuff that thought about maybe?
Yeah, maybe that's a path of why I enjoy it so much because I did enjoy theater performing. So that probably is why like I love presenting to people and I'm very comfortable. Like I think the most people I presented to was about 1,000 people and it felt very natural. But it depends on if you care about what you're talking about. Like I couldn't go up there and give someone else's presentation and feel comfortable and
Of
enjoy it.
course, yeah.
I enjoy it because of the content and hopefully the impact that it can have on the audience.
As you think back, recently over the last 18 months, what comes to mind as like the most impactful engagement you've had? Like, has anyone pulled you aside and been like, God, Jackie, you really got me thinking about this, or this made me feel a certain way?
Um, this is not to like toot my own horn, but those conversations happen all the time. And I think it's because these are my ideas. These are real things that someone else did. And so when someone puts it into their process, their practice to also drive that desired outcome and they see it happen, I love when I get to hear those stories, like reaching a client's next generation or figuring out how they can bring on a younger next gen team member in a way that that person feels like they get ownership in the business and that they're excited to be a part of this team and they're invested. Um, I think the thing that I'm having conversations about that are having the most impact are those conversations around getting to know clients' family members. And I always use next gen in air quotes because your clients that are 70, 80, 90, the next gen is 50, 60. They're probably your ideal client. There's probably some business owners, some doctors, some tech executives in there. And that can be one of those things that I think a lot of advisors get in their head about. Well, the kids are older. I should have connected with them sooner. Now, if I reach out to them after wealth transfer, they'll think I'm just after the money. Like it's too late, or they have another advisor, or the kids are too young. They don't need a full, I think sometimes we get in our own way. We overthink things. So for the family side, next gen growing in new generations, I would say that's one of the areas that's having the most impact broadly for the individuals and teams that I work with.
Do you ever think, another good one for you, because this happens, and I joke with folks that, and I'm sure you think a similar way. I talk with so many advisors and have so many conversations that, I feel like I have a PhD in FA.
You
Do you
speak
ever
advisor?
you just understand the business so
Yeah.
much through all the conversations? Do you think you could build a dominant practice based on what you know and what you
Oh,
would?
as an advisor?
Yeah.
Yeah. When you see all these people go through time and like where they've won, where they've navigated an obstacle, where they've innovated, I would say for sure. But with the caveat of it's really hard. Some things seem very simple because when you get this perspective and you are in this space all day, every day, certain things seem very simple, but simple doesn't mean easy. Building a practice, maintaining it, scaling it, adding the right people, figuring out what services you want to offer, what firm you should be at, it's hard. That's why I understand why so many professionals are trying to figure out where they fit the best so that they can outsource as much as possible while focusing on whatever they really, really want to focus on.
Yeah.
What
I
about
think
you?
I think about it all the time. Not that I'm itching to do that. I think I would have to find someone to partner with to handle the stuff I don't want to do, which is I don't
Exactly.
want to be involved in money management. I'll help you
Yeah.
grow it. You manage the assets.
Yeah. And I think that's like, I saw three professionals come together. One wanted to focus on the investments, one wanted to just do financial planning, and then they're partnering with a CPA. So I think we're going to see more of that format of people who are more specialized within the team that are empowered or free to focus on the things that they really, really enjoy.
I couldn't agree with you more. I want to be respectful of your time and give you your morning, as much of your morning back as I can. So if there's anything, you want to ask or that we didn't touch on, I'm happy to do that. And in the meantime, when we think of the big firms, right, the Goliaths, the top fives, why are they missing the boat? And you can disagree with me. Why are they missing the boat so much on this digital opportunity in front of us?
I don't know that they are missing it. I think that it's a lot easier to make changes on a dime depending on your size. I think they're just more careful in how they're going to make certain changes because of their size. It's kind of like if you have a small boat, pretty easy to make a U-turn. If you have a massive barge or a giant ship, it's going to be a slower change.
So I mean, I can't disagree with that. Obviously, I'm looking at it more like on the firm level, advisor level. The top five including wires, and banks and whatever. Like, I feel like they're going to look back and regret not taking more advantage of this opportunity that we have as the collective window of organic reach comes to it shrinks. And I wonder if it's just protecting the firm from potential litigation or lawsuits or trouble is what really gets in their way.
I don't know. We can guess, we can make assumptions about why they are or aren't doing things, but I think that's also why, I mean, why advisors have options today. They can find the best firm, the best solution for whatever they want, because kind of like we said in the beginning, there are teams that are growing like crazy with zero digital presence, zero social media. So it's going to be preference, and who knows what the future holds. There
In
might be a
fact,
whole nother, we might miss a window on building something in the metaverse. I don't know.
fair enough. Fair enough. I feel like I've asked you everything that I've wanted to, and to get to know you a little bit. And um, I appreciate your candor and willingness to go in a few of these different directions with me. So for
It's
that,
been
thank
fun.
you. Yeah, I'll let you get back to your morning. Enjoy. It looks like you might have a sunny day on your hands. So I hope that's the case.
Yeah, the sun is out, which is exciting.
Cool.
But yeah, it was great to connect. Thank you.
Enjoy Florida.
Thank you.
Cool. You're welcome.
Take care.
See you, Jackie.
Bye.